I'm Peter Quiggins, also known as Peter Turney. I am a candidate for the 2012 elections for Liverpool's first directly elected mayor. I am the co-founder of the famous Quiggins, which was identifiable as the nucleus for Liverpool's cultural industries during 3 decades, 80s, 90s, up until 2006, when we were forced to close the doors to the independent culture. Back then, our demise was presided over by a cross-party cabal in the town hall, all in the name of regeneration. And still today, the cross-party reign, but in a different guise. The globalists used the cultural badge to gain control of our city, land-grabbing anything which stood in its way, creating an illusion of support and culture to gain the prestigious cultural badge, using a moral crusade to steamroll over anything which stood in its path. The city was in reality gifted and then privatised to the globalists, misleading people into contract unlawfully. Early in 2000, because of the well-orchestrated failings of New Labour, they inserted in their manifesto all cities around Great Britain could have the option of voting for a directly elected mayor, securing themselves a return, relying on the seasoned-empowered minority vote. Back in 2005, Quiggins was the first to spearhead such a campaign to trigger a referendum to defrock the council, hoping to replace the cabal with a more sympathetic leader in favour of our cause, which rocked the foundations of the town hall. As you are all aware by now, an election for such a position has arrived here in Liverpool. A well-orchestrated position to be filled by any of the cross-party alliance who have been busy these past 6 years morally establishing themselves with the help of the Zionist purse and left-wing media buddies. In other words, all the anti-English parties are now in the process of devolution, devolving more and more power into the hands of the same-faced parties, or alternatively into the hands of public or celebrity pro-regime figures in the guise of so-called democracy. We are at the endgame of what has become an easier route for entrapping and dividing our nation into smaller manageable units in order for EU and multicultural compliance. Ordinarily, nationalism, using distributism and protectionism, would oppose devolution, as it would be unnecessary. But under the circumstances of the inevitable mayoral launch, we have no other option but to contend a seat against the pro-regime cabal. To date in this city alone, the cross-party alliance has been very cunning, favouring only their paymasters' pet projects to the detriment of more desperately needed social and community programmes, cloning and privatising our city into fewer hands, taking away the spice of our city and adding a new Walt Disney image for the mass consumers of multicultural globalisation. They are homogenising and removing choice. 46 acres of Liverpool 1, privatised. 56 acres of Bowl Street area, the Ropeworks area, privatised. 180 acres of the waterfront, privatised. Not forgetting what was privatised on the Albert Dock during the 1980s to Michael Heseltine and friends, which could be as close as 200 acres. All done in the guise of the silencing weapon of multicultural cohesion, pampering to the chosen few. I am more than aware of my Anglo-Irish Celtic ancestry. I am also aware the anti-English parties have enticed each of us to denounce and isolate our English culture and heritage in favour of mongralising our nation, ensuring division amongst us all, to divide and lose our identity, clashing communities, cultures, gender and religions against each other using sectarian divisive techniques, like the recent IRA visit parading through our Liverpool streets, hand in glove with the city's so-called leader. I believe equality is for all, not just for the multicultural demographic replacement. If equality is not given to the English to have their own ethnicity and parliament, just like the divisive tactic being used in Ireland, Scotland and Wales to bully the English into submission, then this cross-party partnership, this so-called British government, which is contaminated with foreign blood, will soon surrender our country to the Zionist oligarchs. Britain is being colonised today. We are at risk of repeating history. We are about to meet the same fate as the Romans did, once Rome filled with the guests of the empire. The Senate soon filled up with vengeful senators from conquered countries that cared only for distant cousins and birthlands of their ancestors, and so Rome eventually collapsed under the same strain of immigration, a technique now used against us by the Zionist controllers. It has been a silent revolution on the shores of these islands for decades, slowly enticing us into more and more acts, statutes, rules and attachments masquerading as the law. The law no longer takes instruction from our law lords. It now takes it from the profit-yielding private legal system, upholding the will of the Marxist Republic of the European Union, empowering the so-called minorities against the majority, clashing communities and cultures against each other. No different in what is happening today in the Middle Eastern countries, as we watch the unlawful wars with the Zionist oligarchs empowering the factions against all sovereign nations who don't comply with their vision of world dominance. Less than 100 years ago, my ethnicity represented 33% of the world population. After 2 world wars, Christian versus Christian, ethnic cleansing by proxy, mass vaccination programs, encouraged career women on birth control, Western liberal abortion methods, alongside liberal multicultural cohesion, my ethnicity now makes up approximately 8% of the world's population, of which only 2% is of childbearing age. How's that for ethnic cleansing without even firing a gun? We are here for you, the real minority. My message is not about hate, it's about love. Love for my people as well as others. Hate is what the anti-white pro-regimers suckle to gain support, to elevate themselves, to retain power. They use it to outcast the outspoken. I well understand it is dangerous to tell the truth when the truth is illegal. Since being exiled from my city, the pro-regime multiculturalists have tried their utmost to denigrate and criminalise my name for those special times, such as this election. And at times have succeeded with the help of their trade union and cross-party foot soldiers, screaming from the rooftops the same boring wolf cry of racist, anti-Semitic or homophobic, hoping to crush common sense politics and silence debate. I don't mind being a lightning rod for these sensitive issues if it makes it easier for others to stand up and be counted. I am sure you are aware of the campaign against nationalism by all the anti-white, anti-English haters. I am sick to death of having to carry the burden of guilt for long-gone historical events, a divisive tactic to cow my ethnicity into submission. I'm also aware the ideology of protectionism and distributism is diametrically opposite to the will of globalisation. It is for this reason the Zionist controllers condemn nationalism. We are the only true entity standing against the onslaught of globalisation. I used this method for 20 years, protecting and investing in entrepreneurs, incubating small craft, art and creative micro-industries, contributing instead of diluting our local economy under the moral protective banner of Quiggins, advantaging people on merit as opposed to gender, ethnicity or political persuasion. Just like nationalism, Quiggins organically developed into the harmonious community which is no longer provided for here in Liverpool. If elected, I guarantee I will reverse that position and put the spice and spirit back into Liverpool. Distributionism means just that, distributing our nation's mineral wealth and assets amongst our own nation and people who it rightfully belongs to, not selling out to the offshore global agenda of having no allegiance to anything other than the greedy elite few. I am trying to escape multiculturalism. It is killing my nation and my people. It is the reason I joined the National Front, as I recognise the party's manifesto has not been tampered with, which would have restricted any proposal put forward by me if elected. This one organisation safeguards the importance and interests of my people. A diluted constitution is a slower death and pampers only to the global agenda of multiculturalism. There are 12,000 minority self-interest organisations in Britain today looking after the ethnicity and the welfare of our guests, as well as them having the protection of the cross-party alliance, controlling media blackout, tacitly consenting to white race crimes across our nation. Trevor Phillips of the Equalities Commission has been tasked by the EU to destroy white homogeny by diluting the constitution of ethno-nationalism, thereby ethnically cleansing me, my family and people by consent. The EU, endorsed by the United Nations, is consenting to the same across the Western world. It is a socially engineered swindle and keeps us in an open prison. It must be stopped now before our remaining civil liberties and ethnicity are extracted from us for good. They slapped me and I have to apologise to them. No, think again. Your time has been. We are the host. This is our city. Racism is an anti-white hate word of mass deception to keep us all under compliant control. I promise you, if I'm elected, I will dismantle all the money hemorrhaging divisive programmes and will redistribute the savings in the direction of its rightful owners, the neglected communities, not the pet projects of the elite few, or into the hands of our demographic replacement. Remember, only those on the electoral roll are eligible to vote. We can't fight this enemy alone. Spread the word far and wide. Get involved in the noble struggle before the attack dogs of the dissenters hails down on people like me for speaking out. Don't forget to register to vote. Phone up or go down to council today. Postal or ballot, because that's what they do. Stand up and be counted. Your children need a safe future by helping me secure equality of arms to right the balance for Liverpool.